Hello, everyone. It is Friday, the 23rd of June, 2023. Friday! And, I was not going to do a video today, but of course, it is the 23rd, 23 being a very sacred gematria number. And I'm down the rabbit hole again, just looking back at the number and the significance of it in the Bible and gematria and all that stuff. And, but anyway, I need to get this video out, and it's not about that. Just to note that, again, today is a significant day in various occult groups, and 2 times 3 is 6, and so it's the 23rd of June, being the 6th month, and then being 2023. So if anything special happens today, then maybe it's staged and planned because of the significance of the day. We also just we're in the summer solstice, the longest days of the year, and where it's at its peak. And as it transfers from Gemini to Cancer, and then Cancer is the crab, or the 6-9 representation of yin and yang, and the luminaries, how they reflect light on us. But also, there's 3 days where like a crab moves sideways, like on a beach and stuff like that. The sun is at its highest point in the sky, the longest days, for 3 consecutive days, and then starts its descent. And then on the 21st of December, it being where it's at its lowest point, the solar ecliptical path that it follows. And then the 22nd, 23rd, 24th is when it's still doing the crab, or the mountain goat, or whatever you want to call it, because they can even go on like peaks and go like horizontally as well. And then on the 25th is when it rises again, the sun, and then starts its path and raises on the ecliptical path, making its peak, obviously, during this time. And then in equilibrium, or in balance, where there's roughly the equal amount of day and night during the equinoxes equal, and that is in September and March. And what other people believe, or other I'd say civilizations, but even within Canada, there's a lot of people that do believe that the year starts in the spring with Aries, and then looks the solar path and the lunar path as well. But there's also like 13 full moons depending on when your calendar starts in a year. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna go on tangents on that. But anyway, I just wanted to reiterate I was gonna talk about Anthony Johnson again, but that's old news now, and but still very relevant. So advanced races and civilizations, this predate what we were told. The theory of evolution is not real. We did not come from monkeys. We did not evolve from them, because ultimately they would have been wiped off, and not also like be living with us right now. And the amount of species there are, it's just proof. And we didn't come from algae or algae, however you want to pronounce it. For me, it's algae, and any of that stuff over a series of millions or billions of years. It's just lies. And anyway, Titanic tourists. There has been wreckage that has been found on the ocean floor, and allegedly it was a submersible that imploded, likely due to being in like a very high pressurized environment below 2,000 feet underwater. And Titanic, I believe it's under 3,000 feet, 34,000 feet or 38,000 feet. And the submersible that they were in, apparently with like even with the eye holes and stuff like that, like this causes instability or weaknesses within the design, and that's so people that can see out, right? And I will say that the Titanic, I've said this on videos on the record, even on Andreas Zertis' podcast, actually, that I do believe that this was man-made explosion and not something that hit an iceberg and off the coast of Newfoundland, and so like there has been people that were actually part of that dive, or whatever you want to call it, that were investigating this, that also could possibly be people that would be exposing it for what it is, right? And there were other people that were supposed to go on the submersible as well that canceled last minute, and I need to get more proof on that before I share that information, but pulled out, and then this happened. And I've said this before, there's been a lot of accidents or vehicles, like land, air, and sea vehicles gone missing, and or people suicided or murdered, and where there have been like a lot of people involved, like for these cover-ups and stuff like that, and it's a shame, and this is what keeps us stuck, right? And people don't want to be called out when they're alive for lies and deceit, and so they try to come up with any way possible in order to keep it buried, including murdering people. And it's frustrating that people like Chris Hadfield and other astronauts that are supposed to be representing Canada are lying to us about the reality of space, even, and where there are people that have died, like in planned accidents, because they were people that were honorable enough and truthful enough and had enough morals and ethics and integrity in order to speak out once they realized or figured out the reality of the world more so than they were told, and then realized like just the level of deceit there is at the highest levels of government, which is why certain people are in, and why there are also certain people that have been like even looking at them like they're on the backbenchers or whatever you want to call it, or part of committees or groups that are involved with government or education systems or banking systems, and they're just there honestly to make sure that this narrative is continued to be projected and that no one internally in any of these organizations clues in. And so, for example, I'm still waiting on my honorary degree from Carleton University because I've been trying to share with them proof of their pseudoscience they've been teaching now for however long they've been going on for this cycle of life, and because it doesn't go with what they're saying, obviously, then they're not even looking at my information, my data, my scientific, medical, and government data that they would not have access to in their own lives, and they were too lazy to even look at, or too much ego. Oh, I'm a college professor, I'm a university professor. I'm so much better than everyone else in the world, and I'm smarter than everyone else in the world, and there's nothing anyone can ever do or say that's ever gonna make me change my mind on anything. You're a scientist? So I'm pretty sure that that's the opposite of what your profession should be about, right? You're supposed to like reassess, plan, assess, reassess, and prove theories, right? And then if people are giving you groundbreaking scientific, medical, and government data, and you look at their friggin' resumes, then yeah, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, it goes back to that friggin' guy just like a couple weeks ago that he was sharing that there's this crazy lady that was like saying that he was like emitting emissions when he was like parked with this kid in a vehicle, like just friggin' chilling out, and she was like calling the cops and stuff like that, but he was in an electrical vehicle, so like no carbon emissions, and she was so blinded by I don't even know what she was going through, like her own personal stuff, that she wasn't even willing or open to acknowledging like what he was saying, right? And like she was just anyway. I'm looking at my notes just to make sure. I've talked about Operation Trust before. I'll reiterate. It's this was same superhero story. Trust the plan. Secret operations are happening on like underground, just like QAnon. Like it's like this happens in every single country. There's Operation Trust or QAnon type organizations that make people think that everything is gonna like be okay, and that like what's going on right now with like people that are literally corrupted and criminals within all levels of government, Senate, and in our cabinet within Canada as well. That there's people like that are gonna fix it. No, the people that are fixing it are the people that you're seeing that are actively online risking their lives to get this information out to people like me, Jimmy Dore, Tucker Carlson, who may be controlled opposition without even knowing it, and or at least not speaking out or addressing or looking into the flat Earth theories that people like me share with irrefutable evidence. Not something I believe, it's something I know, and yeah, even with this like therapeutic stuff with COVID jabs, I'm going on all these tangents, but Hotez again, like lying, like such a friggin' weasel moron. And by the way, people like look at this guy. He is not an expert in anything, and he was on the Joe Rogan show. I don't know how long ago, but like he was even like, yeah, my diet is crap. Like I eat like he eats like garbage. And so like for me, like how are you gonna like advise people on their health when you don't even like you don't lead from the front? Like you're pushing for children to be masked and inoculated still, even though. And making up numbers. 200,000 people died needlessly from COVID during the pandemic. No, they didn't. That's a lie. These are fake numbers yet again. And it goes all over the place. 1.3, 6 million, 4 million, 2 million, 400,000. Like it's and show the stats. Again, this is misleading. That's misinformation. He's getting a friggin' big paycheck over this stuff and eating like garbage with the money that he's getting from us. And not giving us and even said that he doesn't eat like he doesn't consume micronutrients. And so, like, of course, when people like me were talking about vitamin D and being out in the sun, getting it in the natural way, right, and looking, gazing at the sun during sunrise and sunset, like more optimal because it's not as strong, but then also having that grounding capacity, that grounding element with our bodies in order to heal that way as well, and not being locked in to our homes with like with even with air conditioning. This is very unhealthy, and this causes immune issues. There's more side effects coming out, and proof about the adverse side effects. There's increases in suicides in children. There's increases in overdoses, and that's the leading cause of death, by the way, in BC right now is drug overdoses, which and that passes now suicides. It passes homicides, like accidents, like natural disasters. All of those things combined, and this is something I was seeing as well throughout North America, like these drug overdoses because of over-the-counter medication, prescription medications, like these like opioids and stuff like that. I've also connected that to people that have worked in and around Justin Trudeau, and for the last several years have been pushing more of a pharmaceutical narrative and response to any form of sickness, and not natural ways or ways where the individual is empowered to make their own choices, right? And so this is the stuff that I've been speaking at. Like there are all these experts that I have clearly shown, like that, like I've debunked their science, their medical stuff, their government stuff, the studies and the stats. I've clearly debunked it multiple times. I've sent multiple emails personally to all levels of cabinet with the information that I've shared, even on Signal, like repeatedly for the last few years, and memorandums that I wrote up for or templated for all levels of government to try to get people not kicked out from the mandates and resisting therapeutics. But anyway, the reason why I'm still talking about this stuff, because Hotez and Joe Rogan and that Kennedy guy and I forget his name, RFK Jr. Sorry. Anyway, they are more experts than Hotez, and they are more like leaders from the front, leading by example than Hotez, and it's just so frustrating that like people like that are propped up and pushed in the media. Like they get such a large audience. But the good news about him trying to debate and lie about people like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan and these people is that he's getting called out for this stuff, and previous tweets and responses that he's tried to censor and remove, they've been brought back to light, and he's now trying to call like Elon Musk a monster for like saying that he's lying about the COVID therapeutics and side effects and the amount of people that died and stuff like that, and Joe Rogan's calling him out. And so again, there's likely like most of America now, like because of the views on all different platforms and tags and stuff like that, it's over 350 million if you add them all up, and I believe that the US population, the last I checked, was like 330 million people, and Canada, the last I had checked, it was like 38 million, but now again the last like week, like more stats have come out, and we're closer to like 40 million, and around 41 million, and that is because of the push of other like non-Canadian residents coming in within like the last like year or two. And I'm just gonna make sure that I get all my points of freaking class, like so many notes. Yeah, the reason why myself and many other people are talking about things like human trafficking even, and flat, and how it's all connected and related to everything else that's been going on, is because there are literally organ harvesting locations and farms, human farms, that are all over the world, which is disgusting, but also like within our own friggin' countries, right? So even in North America, this is happening, not just in China and other areas, and Mexico. And the average lifespan of children in these groups, it's like between 2 to 4 years old. This is disgusting. And there are people, again, they obviously, have a lot of money, that are, or desperate, I don't even know, just like, but unethical and immoral and stuff like that are like utilizing these services. And clearly it's a huge business. It's one of the biggest, it is the biggest business in the world, unfortunately, is the human trafficking of all ages, and drug cartels and stuff like that, working obviously like in hand, because like generally speaking, people are intoxicated or inebriated when they commit disgusting things on innocent people and children, and exploit them and stuff like that. And Tim Kennedy and Tom Ballard and others. I highly recommend taking a look at their work, and it's hard to look at, but we need to be more aware of the reality of the world, and it's on our friggin' doorstep, ladies and gentlemen. It's in Canada, it's in the U.S. especially as well, and it's all stuff that like people like Biden's and the Clintons and the Obamas, like if you want to believe it or not, are friggin' associate and Oprah and Ellen, like these people are correlated, associated with these human trafficking groups, and this has been well known now for decades, and not just since like the Epstein list was put together or exposed, even though it's not even out there. It's like the most secure friggin' list there is, and it's disgusting because people are protecting pedophiles and criminals that are still working again in all levels of government or heads of institutions and organizations that they have no business being part of. And look into these schools and stuff like that, that these rich people, like even Madonna, what happens in allegations and crime and stuff like that within these schools, and follow that rabbit hole. Yeah, it's I talked about hair in India and in countries where people believe that, like, if anything, if they have any wishes, or if there's been any hardships or celebrations within their families, then there are people that make this this trip to these like certain like religious people who rip their hair out, or take their hair out in a painful way, like literally like that, and they take that hair and they sell it for wigs and stuff like that. And I don't mean to like pull the rug under people or whatever you want to call it, but the reality is there are people that are pretending that they are noble, virtuous, honorable people playing a friggin' game, and they're saying, oh, well, we're helping people, right? Because like placebo effect, or like, like they as long as they think and believe it, then it's okay, right? And like good. No, you schmucks, you're lying to people, you're deceiving them to get money from them, right? And you're getting all this power and prestige, and like your ego is getting fed every friggin' day while you like on people's dime and time. And you're further exploiting people knowingly, like when they're at their lowest, oftentimes as well. And this is sick. This is disgusting. And even with circumcisions, right? Like if you look at the countries where it's like at the highest rates, and where like the foreskin goes, this goes into pharmaceutical, like this goes into beauty products, and it goes into pharmaceuticals. It goes into so many things that you wouldn't even friggin' believe. And it's also an industry, right? So Canada, like we don't have as much as high rates as either certain like Middle Eastern, like Islamic Muslim countries, like their higher rates, but then you've got like the USA, which is then like the highest out of like the non, like those demographics, and then Canada's at like 31%, which is higher than I thought, you know what I mean? And that was and again, it could be higher now, but there's a business in this, and unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, there's also a business in abortions, and also like again, so there's also these organ harvesting farms and camps where they actually friggin' raise human beings like animals. I'm not friggin' kidding. But there's also like with the abortions that they're also used in pharmaceuticals, beauty products, and also for organ harvesting and things like that as well. And I've shared, unfortunately, people not knowing that they were getting recorded and stuff like that, but actually like trying to come up with business deals and discussing this, admitting this, like doctors, like people that and should have their licenses revoked and stuff like that. So we're so confusing our children as well with anatomy and biology and stuff like that. So so unless we further reiterate, the differences between X, Y, and XX chromosomes, and the differences between males and females and anatomy and basic, like with like the fallopian tubes and the ovaries and the cervix and the uterus and the womb and the breast ducts and the milk ducts, like connection to the breasts for women, and the pelvic design and shape and angle and like just like the different like hormonal differences and biological differences in height and strength and bone density and stuff like that as well. There's so many differences. There's more similarities, yes, when you look at a DNA when you look at the DNA structures, but when you look at males and females, we need to and then also like the development creation of a child in the womb. We need to properly teach the information and not lie about things, or people will get abortions thinking that it's not a big deal, that it's not a life, that it's okay, all of these things, when if they knew the reality of the procedure, and especially when you get beyond like the 12-week mark, yeah, the 10-12 week mark, like beyond that, and then also like children can survive outside of the womb at the 24-25 week mark, debatable on what country you're from, and so that as well would lead people to believe, a lot of people to believe. So just because you think differently doesn't fucking mean that your choice is right. Oh, I'm a pro-choice, so it's a woman's body, it's her choice. No, yes and no. It's her friggin' choice, but like just because you can, should you, right? So like the same thing with alcohol when you're pregnant, or taking drugs when you're pregnant. Like, does anyone really friggin' think that I'm gonna smoke pot when if I'm blessed enough to get pregnant? Absolutely friggin' not. Which is why I gave up drinking to begin with, right? To like further, which was the hardest thing in life to do, right? Like that was my my Achilles heel, or whatever you want to call it, drinking like since a very young age, because it was a coping mechanism, and it got to a point where I was a non-functioning alcoholic, and where I was drunk 24/7 on hard liquor, and was isolated and just ashamed and just wanted to die, slow and suffer and found no purpose or value and meaning in life and stuff like that either, because again, not having the marriage that I was promised and wanted, and all this stuff, and assured I would have, and like the children, and broken promises, and trauma and all that stuff, right? And I gave it up just for the chance or the other possibility, and even looking at medications and stuff like that for for treatments for depression or anxiety or PTSD or complex trauma or pain or anything like that. I was looking at also like even ibuprofen and the possibilities of having fertility issues. Even like just in a month, right? Like where if you're ovulating and you take like certain even like anti-inflammatory like over-the-counter drugs, right? Like this can also impact fertility. And so even that stuff, I was like, nope, all that stuff, right? And I was a freaking addict is what I'm saying. And so people have food addictions or drug addictions, you know what I mean? We all like, they can empathize more than people that have not had any addictions at all. And nowadays, most people aren't raw dogging life anyways. We're on some form of friggin' addictive substance that we're using to just manage and get by, right? It's been like a rough time, and we've been lied to since birth and beyond. And so this is all stuff that, even on a subconscious level, keeps us in a fight or flight, I guess, mode. God, I was looking at different fires being started all over the world, but also like in comparison to California and Canada, what's been going on. And there was a guy that I've shared on various social media platforms, and I've shared with people that are responding to the fires in various capacities, whether they're firefighters or they're disaster or risk management personnel types, or working for charities, not for profit or for profit, that are assisting like on the front lines, also helping, but in a civilian capacity now as veterans or assisting veterans, and then looking at past great fires and seeing that where there were like highly flammable trees that were in and around the homes, and this would lead people to believe that was like a high pressure like internal combustion event in these areas that caused like these fires, and where even pine needles weren't touched, but like where it was like where fires that would have been like likely started like a microwave from the inside cooking outwards. And I'll share that on the description box in this video as well about the fires. It's about a half-an-hour video, I believe, and it's very interesting. And it talks about white ash versus black ash when you look at great fires, and just like and again looking at like places that are complete rubble, like new builds, new designs, all of this stuff, and then how even the trees in the area, like even ponderosa trees in California, which is like the highest flammable trees there, not on fire, but certainly dead. And what's happening now has happened in throughout history as well, with scorched earth and poisoning soil, and we're seeing a lot more of that as well in in places. And so even in Ottawa, they're looking at getting a water treatment plant. I think it's a terrible idea, and I do like believe that this is something that if anything went wrong with that, it could poison again further like facilitate the poisoning of our major water systems. And we're also doing that enough with people that are friggin' bathing their friggin' dogs, like using shampoos and conditioners like on their dogs and their fur and stuff like that, which by the way irritates dogs. Like I don't use any shampoo and conditioner on my friggin' dog's fur and their fur because of their diets and like the oils, like the coconut oil, MCT oils that I put in their food, and the eggs and grass-fed free range open pasture friggin' chickens and stuff like that, like and filtered water, more alkaline water. Like my dog's skin and fur is very, very healthy, and they get compliments all the time for that. And it also like so when they go in water, because my dogs I go on hikes and out for walks with them, and you know what I mean. And so like if they're gonna be in water, I don't want them to contaminate the water either with these harmful chemicals and toxins. So when people bring pets to the beaches, I'm just hoping that they take all of that stuff into consideration, where like you and your dogs could be also poisoning the lakes, especially with sunscreen. And I haven't used friggin' sunscreen and even when I was in the military, like people like would push sunscreen in DEET, and I would rarely use it, only if I was friggin' ordered to, because it's not good for your skin, right? It does cause cancers. It's harmful chemicals. It causes make people have hives if they have skin sensitivities, and it doesn't assist at all with with any sun block or protection like people think. It's just like a barrier where you can mitigate with so many other things, like even like layered clothing and or more organic types of like blocking thing like on your skin layer to if you want to protect. But like the more sprays, the more stuff that you put on your bodies, even makeup, and again like washing your hair with like harmful chemical laden shampoos and conditioners, also like when you're in the friggin' water, like that causes pollution, ladies and gentlemen. And so I friggin' see that all the time, like if I go to a beach or anything like that, or before people hike, like it is what it is. They think it's working and helping, but it's not. It's actually causing a lot of harm to you. But like just spraying themselves like full of like both bug dope and friggin' sunscreen stuff, and then in the water. Like, oh my god. This is out anyway. And so just like more food for thought on that. Going to my notes, sorry. Yeah, Tim Ballard and Lewis Howes. I'll put that video on here too if I remember. But talking about human trafficking and stuff like that, just friggin' horrendous stuff. But stuff that we need to be aware of, right? Because like we need more people helping. Our society is collapsing. We're internally combusting, and there are only like a handful of people that are actually trying to speak out and address and offer solutions. And although I would argue that there's more Americans at this point that are doing this than Canadians, although we do have people that are partially Canadian that are also addressing stuff like Elon Musk and Dr. Jordan Peterson, it would be nice if we'd have like more open debates and platforms where we discuss what's going on and consider the truth that I bring out, even with NASA, like not a real space agency. And that money would be well served to go more on our Canadian defense, Overwatch, assisting with with reparations with various different Indigenous groups. And what I mean by that, I guess, or repairs, I guess, but facilitating with getting better water access, better access to so many different things. And anyway, there's a lot I can talk about. I won't. I think I've got most of the points out of the way. And on this day in history, in 1961, the Antarctic Treaty was enacted. On a free, non-political research and scientific development, stuff like that. Lies. But again, these treaties are put in place that protect people like me from being able to go there and expose the reality of the world, and so many others. I think I will leave it at that, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, a wonderful Friday, and if I don't make a video this weekend, I hope that everyone has a wonderful weekend.